As the Things Fall Apart Festival continues, with today marking day 2, the program featured folklores, panel sessions, paper presentations, and film screenings and dialogues, all centered around the themes and highlights of Chinua Achebe's iconic novel, Things Fall Apart. The Assistant Program Officer of the Center for Memories, organizers of the event, Angoleka Iwobu, explained the vision behind the festival.
The entire vision for the Things Fall Apart Festival, a couple of people have asked, why Things Fall Apart Festival? Chinua Achebe authored more than just Things Fall Apart. Why is that the book that we're, celebrating and in a festival style? And the answer is very simple, 67 years ago, the legend Chinua Achebe, the late, legend Chinua Achebe, authored this book that, to anyone who knows anything about African literature, completely changed the narrative, completely changed the scene of literature in Africa. It was one of the first books that challenged, the reality of colonialism and the influence of religion or the Western religion, on the African continent. And more than that, it was a book that, for the very first time, did not seek to follow the narrative of the Westerners. It was a book that stood out on its own on many fronts. And it was a book that sounded the most authentic, if you asked me, in its tone, in its style, in the narrative, and in everything that it presented. So it's a book that gave other minority groups across the world the audacity to write about themselves, to sound authentic, to not, sound Western in their narrative style, let alone in their thought process. And I think that that's, very significant. So the festival is in celebration of that legacy that he left through that work, Things Fall Apart. I mean, time and again, you find that when you read the book, there are themes that, it brings up that speak to contemporary issues. And you find yourself asking, how is it that a book written 67 years ago, whenever you go back to it, you find something that touches on, our everyday issues. It's ever relevant. So this year we're doing masculine, feminine, human. And it's the point I made earlier, that whenever you revisit this book, you find things that speak to, contemporary issues. And it's amazing because even today we had a panel session, we're currently having a panel session led by Limcalf Life in My City Art Festival curators, and we're looking at Umuofia in brushstrokes and paragraph. It's a session that, takes a deep dive into the connection between literature and the fine arts or the applied arts, And this festival is a way to connect many disciplines. We look at it as an interdisciplinary festival, where we use this book as the foundation to make many important connections in society and speak to many relevant issues. Yes.
She went on to emphasize the importance of experiencing Things Fall Apart, the book, through reading it.
My sole wish is that those who are leaving this place take with them a copy of Things Fall Apart, or more importantly, find a way of procuring a copy for themselves, because it's a book that, many people should read. And more than that, I think it's a book that would cause us to think or to rethink certain aspects of society and, ask ourselves the important question of, how should we go on, right? Yes, it would drive the individual to question or challenge many social norms and, find independent or authentic ways of approaching issues, yes.
One of the panelists, Reginald Ofodele, described the festival as a laudable initiative and highlighted key takeaways from the book event.
I think this festival is laudable. I think it's important. We could never recall and extol enough the works of Achebe in terms of their historical value, sociological value, anthropological, sheer enjoyment. I'm glad to be here. There's much to take home. I was part of it, that panel. I reveled in it. I recalled the proverbs of Achebe. I recalled the transliteration, which people like Achebe and Flora Nwapa, late Mrs. Nwakuche, did superbly. They wrote dialogue in English, correct English, which was recognizably, indeed distinctly Igbo. they could write Igbo dialogue in English. That was impressive. And so we take home past practices, both the ignoble and the laudable. We take home ideas of togetherness and unity, and of course notions of what we should deplore, notions of what was done in the past, which we can't rationalize today, which I feel we must deplore: twin murder and some other practices that denigrated some genders and groups.
Visitors to the Umuofia village, Tochi, expressed excitement, noting that the conversations has inspired her to revisit the book.
The panel was quite intriguing and interesting. I read the book several years ago, and being through the first panel, literally Genesis spoke. It was thought-provoking that I would have definitely read the book tonight again.
4 people have been confirmed dead after a tragic accident occurred in Amoji community